I am. Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for being here and thank you for inviting me to do this. I'm just sharing the screen, so just bear with me while I do the techie bit, which I couldn't do yesterday, so here we go. We're off, hopefully. There we go. So yeah, I called it Burnout to Entrepreneurship, but I like the idea of It's Never Too Late, which is in fact going to be the title of my next book. But I think I may have told you that, Jamie, so that may be why you knew it. I don't know. Anyway, what I plan to do in my 10 minutes is to tell you a bit about who I am, my journey from burnout in the NHS to standing here before you now as a very proud, actually nearly 72-year-old entrepreneur, and some of the lessons I've learned on the way. And I'm going to mention something that Shell and Stu already mentioned, and that's the fabulous Simon Sinek. But I don't know about you, but I always love to hear other people's stories because it makes us far less unidimensional. We become more than just what we do. And as he says in his fabulous book, Start With Why, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. I think somebody might have already said that. So an introduction to me for those of you that don't know me. I live in Cheshire most of the time, but also have a home in the south of France, which is on your bottom left. I'm married to Ian, who some of you will know, and have been for 43 and a half years, I believe. So that's a bit of I think we're both due for something, yeah, reprieve or something, I'm sure. I'm daughter to my 96-year-old mum, who's sharing a mask with me in the top there, and is one of my inspirations. And I'm mum to Laura and grandma to Jacob, who's on the top right. I love walking, I love being in my garden, reading, music, singing, and good food and wine. Now, I'm just going to put me in context. I was born in 1950, and I was born when King George VI was still on the throne. Clement Attlee was Prime Minister, and post-war rationing was still in place. And thank God the internet wasn't invented. So, oh, how did that happen? Right. So there weren't many openings for women when I left school. I think it was still felt that we would get married and have children and do the wife thing. But because of a dreadful TV program called Emergency Ward 10, I decided to do my nurse training, hence the picture at the top at Great Ormond Street, when nurses had uniforms and caps and all the rest of it. And then some years later, I went into health visiting. I didn't actually have a clue what it was, but I was having such a fun time in London. And I found out it was better hours and better money. So that was what I did on and off for the rest of my NHS working life. And I grew to love it more and more. And I threw myself heart and soul into my last role, which was a dual one, part clinical, part leadership. And then I became ill. Several life events, together with the stress of the job, led to a diagnosis of stress-related depression. At the time, I just had no clue what the combined impact of boarding school, postnatal depression, secondary infertility, and miscarriage, none of which I dealt with, were doing. It was like a pedal bin that was being crammed shut, and the stress of the job just meant that that bin fell open and it all spilled out. I was on antidepressants for a year and in therapy for 2. And it was through working with a wonderful therapist I found the courage to walk away from my NHS life 8 years before my pension was due and become self-employed. Looking back, it was one of the best things that could have happened to me and one of the first real defining moments in my working life. Until that moment, I was living life on automatic pilot, as so many others of my colleagues were. We were just working until the time came to get a pension. I didn't know what else there was out there for me. I didn't really know what my strengths were, but deep inside, I felt there was something more for me. So I left, and I totally made up running a business. And for the next 6 years or so, worked with NHS organisations, doing all kinds of things, including training and consultancy. And then I also found life coaching and trained with the Coaches Training Institute. When someone told me about it, I didn't even know it was a thing. This was back in about 2004. But what I learned was it was the way I'd always worked with the mums in my care and my colleagues in a professional capacity. And in 2009, I set up a coaching business to help women who had been through some significant life event to find meaning and purpose the other side. And I wrote my book, which you can see in the middle picture, Journey to Chocolate, so I could reach out to more women because I believed that there were so many out there living life like I had been on automatic pilot. And I wanted to help them recognize it. And if they wanted to, change their circumstances. And that was going fine. But I knew I didn't want to do it forever, but financially I couldn't see another way. I only knew the exchanging time for money model for earning exchanging time for money model for earning money. And then the second defining moment of my life, the birth of our grandson Jacob in 2011. And my hope is that all of you will have the incredibly powerful moment of looking into your child's eyes, because it changed everything for me. I still remember it 10 years later, as you can probably hear from my voice. Now, my son-in-law was in the American services, and we knew they would move to the US at some point in the future. And they've now been there since 2016. There was no way on earth that I could allow my only child and my only grandchild to move to the other side of the Atlantic, where I'd never been, so it might as well have been out of space as far as I was concerned. And we knew we would have to fund trips to the US and would have to do something to be able to afford that and a reasonable retirement as well. So I knew about Arbonne and went looking for someone to sponsor me. I had no clue whether I could do it. I had no clue about skincare, and I certainly didn't know what network marketing was. What I did see was a solution. And so slowly I began to build a business. I went into partnership with Ian in 2015, and we reached the third level of the company by October of that year, the Mercedes level. Just over a year later, we lost it because part of our team, unbeknownst to us, was trading illegally, and they were found out and had their IDs withdrawn. And for a long time, I felt shame that I had failed, and shame that people would find out that I couldn't do this, shame that I was being judged. And it was only recently that I realized that that shame had gone, and I just felt amazing. So now we're building back strong. We had our best year ever in 2021, and I totally fell in love with what I do. My purpose is to inspire women to age well and flourish. My values, which we've already talked about this afternoon, on which I'm building my business, are joy, freedom, connection, courage, and integrity. And all I can say is bring on the 2022 adventures, because I'm 100% confident that we will promote back in the first half of the year. Not only that, I'm working on book number 2, and we plan to achieve an incentive trip to Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic in September. So what keeps me in the game? Being part of a company whose values mirror my own, whose ethics and sustainability practices allow me to follow my why of leaving the world in a better place for Jacob, his children, and his children's children. I am part of a fabulous, positive community who are always there to support us and cheer us on, and have introduced us both to products that allow us to feel healthy and look healthy. As for retirement, it's not on my agenda at all. And the business model is genius. I really am beginning to live life on my terms, building my business around my life rather than the other way around. And for the first time in my life, my career involves my own whys and my own needs, as well as being able to have an impact on the lives of so many others. The only thing that can stop any of us in this industry living our best lives is our mindsets, and I work on mine every day. So I promise to share key lessons of what I've learned on this rather long journey. So firstly, have a crystal clear vision of where you're going and be clear about your values on which you're building your business. Choose courage. In other words, feel the fear and do it anyway. Never, ever stop learning. As I said, personal development is part of my everyday life. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, break the habit of being yourself. I am not the person I was 10 years ago when I started this business. Be open to opportunities. You never know where they may take you. And be prepared to be vulnerable. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, talks about our face down in the arena moments. When we lost our title was definitely one of mine, and that's the time when you need the relationships that we build via circle networking and other great networking to give us the support we need and deserve to help us bounce back again. To be vulnerable, we need real connection. So know your why. When you need motivation to get up and do what you need to do on a daily basis, just look at your vision board and remind yourself of why you do what you do. Be willing to get up and start all over again when you hit a road bump, because if you have a big vision and you have big dreams, that is going to happen. Consistency is key. To be successful, it's doing the little things every single day, whether you feel like it or not. And a great book on that is The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Focus on abundance, not lack. I started last year focusing on the team we didn't have, and I didn't have a team. So when we changed that, we started enrolling some fabulous new consultants. Put your own self-care at the top of your priority list. You are the most important person in your business. And most of all, if you 100% love what you do, never, ever give up, because you may only be 3 feet from gold. That's another book by Sharon Lechter and Greg Reed. And thank you for listening. And may I wish you all a fabulous, successful 2022. And if you want a list of the books I've mentioned, please do message me. And I will now stop sharing.